Prime Minister Mark Carney is wheels up to India. Carney's trip marks the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister since relations have thawed, a significant step for bilateral relations. This follows Canada publicly accusing India of playing a role in a murder on Canadian soil. A big reason behind the trip, U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war, as Canada looks to diversify its trading partners. Vina Nadjibulla is the Vice President, Research and Strategy at the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for the invitation, Peter.
Can we just start with where we're at on this notion of the threat, transnational repression, violence in Canada? How big of a concern is this going into this meeting? And how many things have we seen in place to try to get this resolved?
Look, foreign interference, transnational repression are real issues, and they are being addressed through the security and law enforcement channel. So the government has put in place a number of mechanisms to deal with this issue. When it comes to India, there's now a bilateral channel on security and law enforcement. It's been meeting, including at the highest levels, and is being dealt with. Has the problem gone away completely? No. Has there been progress and cooperation now? Yes. And I think that's what's significant here, Peter, that we are seeing some progress and movement on this file, and we need that to continue, because for everything else to be sustainable, for this new strategic partnership with India, for the CEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with India to move forward, we do need to address the security issues. They are being dealt with. That is moving in parallel to the broader conversations, and that has to continue.
I guess the gap is it's not going on anymore and it's getting better. Those are two very different things. If these problems are still ongoing, how difficult does a trade mission like this become, especially if there's been some misstepping and miscommunication around where this issue is back here in Canada?
Yeah, so there are a number of issues that you laid out there. I mean, I think we need to note that a lot of groundwork has been laid for this visit to be successful. We've had 5 ministerial meetings between the foreign ministers. We've had our energy minister travel there. We've had our AI minister travel there, and security dialogue as well. So a lot of work has gone in over the last year to prepare for an ambitious and a productive visit, which the Prime Minister is trying to undertake. Now, a lot has to happen at the same time, meaning we have to continue the security discussions. We have to launch now serious discussions around CEPA. We have to continue to explore issues around education, technology, AI, which links to our immigration reform. But I think the moment that we're living in, Peter, demands that kind of urgency and ambition. And when it comes to India, for this particular moment, we have a strategic window of opportunity. This is a really important moment for the Prime Minister to seize, coming out of his Davos speech, which received a lot of positive attention in India, as well as in Australia and Japan, in the entire world, basically. The world is paying attention to Canada. We want to diversify our partners. India wants to diversify its partnerships. Yes, we have issues in the relationship. We're making progress on those issues, and we now have to seize the opportunities that are before us.
How fragile do you think, like, if this is a reset, how fragile is the reset? And could it take something like this to sort of knock it off the table, as it were?
I think through this trip, Prime Minister Carney is trying to solidify the reset and do so by having some concrete deliverables in areas like energy, nuclear, on issues like technology and cooperation. We even launched a trilateral between Canada, Australia, and India, right? So he's trying to make the reset enduring, and the way you do that is you create practical areas of cooperation. You have real deals, long-term deals. For instance, on nuclear, these would be 10-year proposals and deals, right? The same when it comes to energy, LNG, investments from India into the major projects here in Canada. So are there issues? Yes. Can this trip be successful in solidifying the reset? Absolutely.
So on that trip, I know we've said that it's probably going to take a full year before we get the CEPA completed. Are there measurable, deliverable concluded things that can come out of this trip that we can come back and say, look, here's the progress we've made on both of those tracks, the security and the trade?
Yes. I mean, it's important to note that we've made progress even in this year that has passed, right? So, I mean, so much has happened, Peter, in the world between Greenland and Venezuela and everything else that it's easy to miss the various developments. The fact that the National Security Advisor of India traveled to Canada and had a productive meeting with all of his counterparts here, that is significant. And we couldn't have imagined that a year ago. So I think we've already made progress. This trip will deliver announcements on issues that I mentioned, energy, educational. 21 Canadian university presidents were in India just earlier this month, not just to recruit Indian students, but to actually have partnerships around technology and innovation, STEM, AI, right? I mean, we have a premier of New Brunswick in India because life sciences, pharmaceuticals, these are all the issues that we're interested in. We have a premier of Saskatchewan on the ground because of agriculture, not just selling them more stuff, but doing stuff together around innovation. So I think we have to look at the big picture here. India is the fastest growing major economy. It is a $4 trillion economy. We have close links with India. There are many things that they want that we want to be able to sell them on agriculture, on energy. We have an issue that we're addressing with them, but there's been progress there. So let's not get in our own way. Let's be able to do more than one thing at a time and move forward with the momentum that we have.
Is there a scenario in which, because of the issues that you've mentioned, trade hasn't been growing at the rate that I think people would have expected it to, that this is kind of low-hanging fruit, that we could see a real acceleration real quick as a result of a kind of lost 4 or 5 years now?
I mean, I think we have a lot of opportunities now because we have export infrastructure like TMX pipeline, like LNG Canada, which didn't exist before. So it was very difficult to even contemplate selling energy in Asia. Now we're starting to do that. We also have areas like critical minerals, which we weren't really looking at 5 years ago in the same way that we're doing now, right? So I think there's opportunity there as well to explore. Then in terms of services, there's so much there when it comes to digital services, when it comes to insurance, when it comes to, again, AI partnerships. So I think that's a whole other area to explore. So yes, we will likely see doubling of trade. But it's important for us to actually conclude the CEPA. It would give predictability. It will attract investment, including to Canada. We need investment. And there are major Indian companies that are interested in major projects here in Canada. So all of that needs the political relationship to be stable. We need to rebuild trust. And we have to continue on the difficult issues as well. We talk a lot about the trust that needs to be rebuilt on this side. What do the Indian companies and firms tell us about what they need to see from Canada? Absolutely. They are also interested, but of course they need to see the export infrastructure. They need regulatory clarity. They want a lot of support in understanding certainly how Indigenous issues work here in this country. And in general, we need to understand better the Indian market, and they need to understand Canada. That's why Prime Minister's trip is so important. He'll be spending time in Mumbai for 2 days with business community, with private sector, with the universities. And he's doing a great job of raising the profile of Canada. I was just in Asia myself, in Indonesia and Singapore. We are having a moment. Canada is having a moment on the global stage. Let's take advantage of that. Let's move forward, and let's see what we can do that's beneficial for Canada and for India. All right, we've got to leave it there. Vina Nadjibulla from the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, thanks for doing this. Thank you.